So let's see the fourth question. One role of hemoglobin is to transport oxygen in the blood. Hemoglobin is a protein. The table shows some features of the secondary and tertiary structures of proteins. For each, you have to put the cross. So peptide bonds are found in all proteins. So both the secondary and tertiary are found in proteins, right? So you have to put cross in the first part. Then beta plated folding is also found in both secondary and tertiary structure. So beta plated and the alpha helix first start from the secondary structure. Since the bonds in previous structures are same for the followings, we can say they are found in the tertiary structure as well. So for this also, both secondary and tertiary should be the answer. So let's see the next question. Explain two ways in which the structure of hemoglobin enables to transport oxygen in the blood. So you are asked to determine that two ways. So you know that hemoglobin has 4 groups to carry out the oxygen. And it is also a globular structure, so it can dissolve in cytoplasm. And they have different affinity for oxygen at different partial pressures. So you are about to write only 2 ways. So let's write the answer. So first one is hemoglobin is a globular structure which can dissolve in cytoplasm and it can carry out oxygen. Then the next part you can write is what? It has different affinity for oxygen. At different partial pressures. You can even mention the 4 subunits. There are 4 subunits and 4 heme groups as in your answer. So this is the most correct answer. One is that it's a globular structure, so it can dissolve in cytoplasm. Then it has different affinity at different partial pressures. So let's see the next question. The tops of the Andes Mountains in Peru are between 4,800 meter and 5,400 meter above the sea levels. Llamas are adapted for living at these high altitudes. Camels live at low altitudes than llamas. So photograph shows llama and camel. Okay. So you are given a graph also about the oxygen dissociation curves of hemoglobin of llama and camel. So in the y-axis you are given the percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen, and in the x-axis you have the partial pressures of oxygen for llama and camel. Okay. So let's see the question. The table shows the partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere at different altitudes, reduced while llamas are able to live at higher altitudes than camels. Use the information in the graph and the table to support your answer. So according to the graph, you can see that llamas' graph is this and camels is downwards. So you can say that the dissociation curve for llama is to the left. Therefore, llama's hemoglobin will have a high affinity for oxygen. And since it has high affinity for oxygen, it can dissolve and it will be able to bind more oxygen. That part you can write. Okay. Let's write that. So it will have a high affinity for oxygen and it can bind to more oxygen. This PowerPoint you can write using the graph, okay? And then, according to the table, you can write actually about the altitude and the partial pressure. So when the altitude increases, what will happen to the partial pressure is that the partial pressure will decline. So you can write that. When the altitude increases, the partial pressure will decline according to the table as shown the above. Okay. Then other part you can write again is in the graph you can see it's a non-uniform or non-linear graph. So the percentage of saturation of hemoglobin varies non-linearly with partial pressure of oxygen. According to the table also you can see the same way. It is not reducing linearly, it is reducing non-linearly. Okay, so you can write that point as well, which is what? Percentage of saturation of hemoglobin reduces non-linearly. And non-uniformly with that of partial pressure. So that's all about the question number 4. Okay. So I hope this is clear for you all.